We're talking about draft strategies to help you win your leagues, and the show is going to start right now. Welcome back. It's Bob's Three-Toed Warriors from Studio 1329 with the Word on the Street, Season 1, Episode 26, plugging away there. And so on today's show, we're going to talk about draft strategies and the thoughts behind them. And who better than Stepmom Lauren, writer for the Fantasy Footballers and Fantasy Pros, to help us out with that. Lauren, what's a good word?
Oh, man, just living life every day. Just, dealing with this weird world we live in right now, which I really can't complain because nothing's really changed for me. I've been working from home for the last 10 years. So I just like to complain with everybody else. And it also gives me an excuse to drink earlier because everyone else is too. So I'm like, why not?
There we go. I got mine right here. I'm ready to go.
Let's go. Me too.
All right. That's awesome. Why don't you let everybody know where you can be found?
So you guys can find me on social media. It's at Stepmom Lauren, and my name is Lauren. You can find all of my work on my website. It's stepmomlauren.com. Just go ahead and type that right in your browser. I would not recommend Google searching that, although I should be up there now, but we'll save that for another time. But yeah, so writer for the Fantasy Footballers, writer for Fantasy Pros. I love it, and I'm all over social media. Come say hi.
Awesome. Speaking of Twitter, real quick, you need to change your Twitter banner.
Why?
Because I hope you are psychologically prepared to lose at fantasy football to a woman. No, I'm not. I am not.
Not changing it. Not changing it for that reason.
We started a fantasy football friends and family league. It's about half wives, half husbands. And the first year, well, let me rephrase that. All 3 years, women have won. The first 2 years, I came in second. Yeah, stop shaking your head. For those not watching on the YouTube, she is shaking her head and giving the big okay sign. But she was taunting me going into the championship game, I believe it was, with that exact little. Is that a meme? What is that? What do they call that thing? But yeah.
I don't know if that's particularly a meme. I think that's just graphic because it's not a GIF. I don't know.
No, yeah, it was not nice is the point, and I lost. So I am still bitter 3 years later, and the guys are gonna win this year. We hope and we hope.
Good luck. See, women have just a different way of approaching and seeing sports, fantasy sports. Like we look at things differently. Maybe it's in a more holistic view. I'm not sure, but it's hard for some guys to be okay with it. It's like, no, usually not. Like that's what happened when I first started in fantasy football that started the addiction for me is I won in my league and I'm the only girl in that league. I'm the only girl in many leagues, which, I like it because I like to be underestimated.
Sure.
Like, oh my God, there's a shirt on Amazon I want to get so badly. And it's like, underestimate me, we'll see, or something like that, but it's great. And I have to get it. Sure. But it's fun. I enjoy it.
That's your homework for the day.
I know, right? Jeff's like, oh, my husband, Jeff, another package from Amazon. No.
All right. If you're watching on YouTube, please subscribe, hit the notification bell. Hope you're enjoying it. If you're listening on the podcast audio, don't forget to subscribe and give the show a 5-star rating. It really helps out, and I greatly appreciate that as well. On Wednesdays, we do have the Fantasy Football Happy Hour. We have 4 great – this show is not for tomorrow. Whatever, that's okay. We have great guests on all the time. That's what happens when you record, and then that's a live thing. So, all right. Why don't you tell us a little bit about some of the projects you're working on? Because you've got quite a few different things going on with, writing and everything else. So
yes. So right now, for the month of August, we're finishing up our off-season articles, and those are ones that we can really do whatever we want with, which are the hardest ones to do. Yeah, you're like, I don't know what to write about because there's so many things and you have to narrow it down. And then I say this phrase a lot, so I apologize if you've heard it from me already, but I turn into Alice in Wonderland and fall down the rabbit hole of statistics and narratives and storylines. So one article that should take me maybe a day, a week later, my eyeballs are bleeding, my brains are coming out of my ears, and I'm like, so much information. So I am finishing those up, but we're going to see some more stuff from Fantasy Pros. I've been diving into the 0 wide receiver, 0 RB strategies because they're pretty interesting for Fantasy Pros. And then for the Fantasy Footballers, for the month of August, I'm looking at sleepers, if you will, but I call it the players to remember series. So it's the running backs, tight ends, wide receivers, quarterbacks that you guys don't forget about. Maybe they were injured last year. Maybe they're considered a sleeper this year. It's just new environments that they're in, new players that have come in. I really like looking at that. It's a lot of fun. I just recently released my 3 tight ends to remember, which is going up on my website tomorrow. So that's with the fantasy footballers. So there's a couple interesting names in there. Like people forget that they're even around because someone like Chris Herndon played, I think, like 1 snap and had 7 yards. That was it.
Right back to the IR. Yeah.
So it's good. I like working on that. Then come full regular season, we have our set, article series that we will just go ahead and move along with for both of my writing outlets. So the fun creative stuff is now that makes me seriously stare at a computer for hours on end. And I feel like I'm Sherlock Holmes or something, finding all these cool clues about football. And then they're all wrong because it's fantasy football and then it doesn't matter.
It's a game. It's fun. So last night I was laying there and I had my laptop and I was loading in all the players to this Google sheet, whatever, so I could stat them all out. And when you're going 4 running backs, 4 tight ends deep, 6 wide receivers deep, it's like I didn't even think that guy was still in the NFL.
He's still around? There's a couple names like that where you're like, huh.
Those aren't guys to remember. Those are players to forget.
Right. Mine are to remember. Those don't bother with them.
Yeah.
That's okay.
Well, I just want them in there for the stats and trying to keep them honest and
because at one time that you need to look up stats for that person for whatever reason, nobody has any information on him. I had to look up information on who is it? Dalton Schultz.
Dalton Schultz. That's right.
Yeah, I was like, oh my God, there is stats on him. He's been around for a while. Blake Bell was another one.
Yeah.
Always.
Yeah. I was hoping to be something when Jason Witten went to the booth and he was not. So.
Well, we have Blake Jarwin for that now. So.
We do. That's the one who's won. Maybe. We think so. We're pretty sure.
I think so. He managed to score 3 touchdowns on 41 targets, in addition to Witten taking 82 targets. Come on now. It's Blake Jarwin.
That's Mercedes Lewis in 1 week in England. In London.
In England, in the NFL. Okay.
I agree. It's
like that made Blake Bortles look good. Or was it? I think it was Blake Bortles.
I don't remember who it was that week. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we're gonna slide over to these draft strategies and hopefully help people get some ideas of different ways to go into drafts and look at things a little differently. And I don't know, maybe some of these draft strategies are good in a year. Maybe some of them are good certain years. You got to kind of see what works for you. And you probably got to be a little flexible too. She's shaking her head no. We'll see what that means. So I think we're going to tackle 0 RB strategy, 0 wide receiver strategy, late round strategy, and just kind of the mental side behind draft day and trading psychology a little. So, and since you ladies look at things different than us, it might be more interesting. So, all right. So let's start with the also familiar 0 RB strategy. What does that mean to you? What's that look like?
Okay. So the technical definition of a 0 RB strategy is you do not draft a running back at all until the 6th round.
Ugh.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Yeah. It is controversial. It is interesting. But the reason this strategy even exists is because it really forces you to load up on elite players at the wide receiver, tight end, and quarterback position. Or just 2 of those, 2 out of the 3 of those, whichever one works best for your league's scoring. So it could work depending on, like I said, how your league scores. That's totally worth it. Like I'm in my home league, the one that I won the very first year. We value our quarterbacks ridiculously high. So if your quarterback is scoring anywhere from 70 to 90 points, you're losing. You are not going to make the playoffs.
Whoa. In a week?
In a week.
70, 90 points in a week?
Yes. I think the highest who's ever scored was Drew Brees 2 years ago, scored like 99 point 2 points, and then 1 week Deshaun Watson blew that out of the water with like 99.8 points. But we have crazy bonuses for receptions, the depth of reception, bomb touchdowns. I mean, so there are quarterbacks that just don't work well at that. Like Aaron Rodgers has never worked well in our system ever, but we're drafting completely different. So this is one of those strategies that it just depends. You could have a really weird league where this is exactly what it is that you need to do, and you need to load up on receivers. It's wide receivers, it's tight ends, it's your quarterback who throws them. It just depends. Now, in a normal setting, I don't recommend this.
I agree.
don't recommend it. Like the 6th round is too late. It's too late. So I dive into this on my Fantasy Pros article, and I basically look at the ideal lineup. So I went through Fantasy Football Calculator, Fantasy Pros ADP, Yahoo ADP, all sorts of different places just to make sure the names were at least similar per round, right?
Sure.
And I targeted like who would I want to get in those rounds, 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th. Who am I targeting there? And then who is really available in the 6th round? It ain't pretty. It's not pretty. It's not pretty. However, I will throw a caveat here on the 0 RB. If anyone has followed my work before, you know I'm a David Johnson truther. I also did a couple articles for Fantasy Pros that talks about sleeping on former elite running backs. I got tight ends on the brain. What can I say? Blake Jarwin. Anyway, so former elite running backs like Todd Gurley, Le'Veon Bell, David Johnson, Melvin Gordon. I don't think he's falling as far. So you could do a hybrid of a 0 RB that I think could work this year because those guys are falling anywhere from the 3rd to the 5th round. So I like that. That's okay. But waiting until the 6th, it wasn't pretty. It was bad. I mean, the talent that I got at wide receiver, quarterback, and tight end were amazing. So that could make up for the mediocrity at running back, but probably not, because I don't want Ronald Jones as my RB1. He will have RB1 weeks, but I don't want him as my RB1.
All right, that's
or
fair.
Darius Guice.
Or who?
Or Darius Guice.
Okay, sure. Him or the other 6 running backs on the team for now.
Yeah.
Right. Very, very confusing. Washington football team was the last team when I was typing in last night, and I'm like, holy hell, there are so many running backs. And
it's so crazy. It's so crazy. It's insane. So where you have that as the 0 RB, you're waiting until the 6th round to draft a running back for the purpose of getting elite pass catchers. The inverse is true with the 0 wide receiver strategy. So you're waiting until the 6th round to get a wide receiver, which means you're loading up on your running backs and you're loading up on your quarterback and tight end, and you are waiting for your wide receiver until later. Now, I will give 0 wide receiver, the true 0 wide receiver, I will give that the most credence because there is a lot of talent in the wideout position, the wide receiver position, 6th round and below. Sure. Not elite, but there is a lot of depth with the wide receiver class that I do like. Still, I wouldn't highly recommend it unless it really works with your league scoring. But it's fun to experiment with because you're like, how can I make this amazing? I'm like,
well, with the 0 RB, I mean, I've heard people say before that they like to do it because RBs get hurt so much and you're spending so much draft capital on that 1st, 2nd round running back that you're afraid to spend that money on the big running back. So just take the big wide receiver and go for it.
Right.
And I could also see in a full PPR, I could see there being a nice benefit, especially if you're kind of later anyway in the draft, back half of the draft.
Yes.
I see a benefit for going maybe not necessarily 0 RB, but some form of it because you
like a hybrid. Not until the 6th.
Yeah.
The 6th round is too late.
I'm not that strong.
I know. It was hard to even mock draft doing it. I'm like, oh, but they're right there.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Well, and then this year, I could be wrong, but I feel like this year compared to, I've only been playing fantasy football for 5 or 6 years, whatever. But I feel like this year and everything I've seen and all the mocks I've done and any drafts I've done, running backs are just flying off the board. If you want a solid one, it's the 1st, 2nd round, maybe right on the turn of the 3rd. But then you're hitting those don't forget them guys that are still great or should be great. They were great 2 years ago.
Right.
But they could definitely do something good. But like
See,
No.
I like that. I like that this year, but just a very good point you brought up. It's also going to depend where in the draft order you are. So, and a lot of things going on right now. Like there's that sounded very ominous, but a lot of the articles out right now about zero running back, excuse me, are if you are drafting in those first 5 spots, but you still want to, give your hand at a 0 running back, don't be cute. Just take an elite running back and then start your 0 RB. There is no reason to pass up on Christian McCaffrey, Saquon Barkley, Ezekiel Elliott, Alvin Kamara. Don't do it. That's just silly. You're cutting off your nose to spite your face. But if you want to go ahead and do that afterwards, there is an argument to be had for that if it works. I don't love it, but it is fun to experiment with and just to see what it turns out to. Fantasy Pros has an awesome draft wizard, this simulator that they use that you can put your league scoring in there and everything, except nobody ever supports my home league scoring of ridiculous quarterback points. So we just have to wing that every single year. There's no preparing for our draft ever. So
yeah,
it's fun though.
It's all good. It makes people have to be on their game.
Yes.
They can't just grab the draft sheet 2 minutes before on the way here, pull it up on their phone. They have to prepare a little. So
yeah, and when I just remember that was the only league I was in, and I was messaging fantasy experts on Twitter, and I was like, hey, this was my score. I had got 2 spots left. Who do you think I should start? They're like, how did you get 280 points and you still have a player left? Is this PPR? Yeah. No, it's not even PPR. It's just crazy the amount of bonuses we have. It's nuts.
Okay.
Yeah, it's super fun. I know nobody cares about my home league, but
it's interesting because I don't. Okay, I only play in a few. No, I think I've dropped the leagues that had the crazy bonuses.
Oh, so fun.
Yeah, I went from 14 down to 5 because I like life.
I can't do it. I've gone exponentially higher and higher in leagues that I'm in. Luckily, a lot of them are best ball, so just draft it and you're done.
Yeah.
But I can't. I really have to force myself to say no because I get a lot of league requests every day, and I'm like, I really want to, but I can't. No.
Yeah, and then when I commission them, I do a video recap on Tuesday nights just for that and the waiver wire, and now the podcast. It's like, what time will I be up till on Tuesday doing this?
Yeah. No, I get
Sleep's
it.
Overrated. So if you were doing a 0 RB strategy, if you were brave enough to do it, are there any draft targets in those later rounds as a running back since you're gonna have to make up time that you would be willing to take that shot on in the 6th, 7th, 8th round? You're just gonna load up on boom, boom, boom running back there, I'm sure.
Right.
So, is there anybody there you target?
Yeah, there are a couple names. Again, I don't love them as my RB1 though, but I do love them as running backs. So
it's the 6th round.
Yeah, I know. Oh, it boggles my mind. But a caveat: a lot of people call 0 RB waiting until the 4th round to draft an RB. That is not the technical definition of 0 RB.
That's as close as I'd get.
That's as close as I would get too. I'm not gonna lie. I am not gonna lie and say that I have the cojones to do it. I don't. Yeah. So the first one I would target, especially in PPR, is going to be James White. Love him. I've always loved him. He's an incredibly consistent running back. He's a pass-catching running back. So if you are in a PPR, that is very helpful. And you would be using your 0 RB in a PPR format because that gives your pass catchers like wide receivers and tight ends a lot more value, which would make you want to draft them earlier. So I wouldn't even look at a 0 wide receiver hybrid strategy if I was in standard. That's just, no, it's going to be in PPR. It's going to be your best guess. Let's see. I actually have my article pulled up right here. Darius Guice was another one, but one explosive player I'm very excited about is going to be Matt Breida from now in Miami Dolphins. So his counterpart is Jordan Howard, who is really not known for his
catching ball capabilities,
shall we say. So that's going to be Breida's role, and he's very explosive. We've seen it happen in San Francisco. So I like him as a target as well. Let's see. And I mean, really, those are the only 2 guys I'm super excited about. Darius Guice, like I mentioned before, is another option. If you're in standard, instead of Matt Breida, go Jordan Howard. Kerryon Johnson or DeAndre Swift is another one that is interesting to look at in those rounds as well. But
yeah, they're that late. That's an interesting one because to get a starting running back that late, a little. It's interesting, but are they going to be healthy? Which one's going to have the job?
Exactly. And that's a big question. And I understand the mindset behind the 0 RB because of so many injuries. But then again, a lot of times injury risk is built into their ADP already. And so is the ADP of their backups, like, Dalvin Cook and Alexander Madison. So they generally fall correctly when you're drafting. So just if you are going to be targeting, or if that player happens to fall to you, because no one's really going to be targeting, someone who hasn't played a full 16 games. I get it. But if they fall to you, have a contingency plan to reach for their backups, because everyone else in your league will. As soon as you draft that guy, they're going to be like, whoop, next one's Alexander Madison. Yeah. Because I think it was Mike Tagliere, or maybe it was Bobby Sylvester at Fantasy Pros. They're like, you don't win your league drafting your handcuffs. You win your league drafting other people's handcuffs, which is so Latavius Murray, Alexander Madison, Tony Pollard, those guys.
Yeah, I listened to a debate on that recently, and I thought it was kind of interesting because
it's very interesting.
A lot of people are like, no, I don't want to sit there and wait on a guy. But if you got enough room on your roster and it's not killing you.
And if you have a big bench, it's not going to bother you. And also, you should be able to get those guys relatively late enough that you're not going to be wasting a ton of draft capital if you do happen to have to let them go in waivers, or if you can combine that into a trade to work to your benefit, especially with the guy that owns the starter. So that's usually how you can work that, which is pretty fun.
Yeah, hold him ransom.
Yep.
But you gotta do it with a little style, or else it's gonna be a spike deal.
There's subtlety. There's subtlety, and
we should hold that. We should hold this part for the last segment. Little teaser, people. Little teaser. Last segment. Make sure you're still watching for the last segment. That's where we're gonna talk about that kind of stuff. So, So waiting till the 6th round. James White, Geis, Breida, Kerryon Johnson, Swift. That's if you get lucky enough to actually get that person and someone else isn't just stocking up and it's like, okay, I wanted him. He took him. All right, fine. I'll get the next guy. Oh, he took him. Oh, there's a run on the last running backs that I wanted. And now I'm sitting there with all backups and all horrible. So our recommendation for this year on the 0 RB strategy is
if you're drafting later in your position, wait until round 4.
Okay, so we're modifying it to round 4.
Round 4, yes. Now, let me just throw something out there too, because when you're not drafting a position, right? Let's say you're waiting on that position. You're going to see other people start to draft that position, but not completely all across the board unless you're in the first round where everyone's taking a running back, right?
Sure.
So you'd be surprised what guys actually start to fall, because once your league mates' positions start to get filled, they're going to be looking at other positions. Well, now you have a plethora of running backs. They may not be the best of the bunch, but you've got a lot of running backs, and all of your other positions are mostly filled. So you're just like running back. So other people who may have been waiting on the running back position, they have an elite now, they're freaking out because they're like, wait a minute, she's just going to take the next 3 running backs right off the board. What am I going to do? I still need a quarterback. I still need a tight end. Then it does kind of start to get into other league mates' minds when they don't understand what you're doing. They're like, wait, why isn't she taking a running back yet? What is going on? It's kind of fun to watch.
I'm not doing it. It's not that fun.
Implode it. The draft tilt is real.
Draft tilt. Oh, my God. And especially if you're having beverages. There's so many drafts that I've just been like, fuck it.
Oh, my God.
As I'm going to get my pick, I'm just like, fuck
it. So saving for the end on psychology and things.
Yeah.
I'll bring that up.
We will. All right. So on the 0 draft strategy, we already talked about that. Why you would do it. So I think we kind of went with, okay, it's a PPR league. You want to capitalize on that. You're in the back half of the draft. The premier running backs are kind of the best of the best ones are gone. The tier 1, tier 2 running backs are gone. And you just want to capitalize on taking the best player available, not just the scarce player available as the running backs are leaving. I think we settled on it'd be a strategy we could almost advise, but we still couldn't go full out. Wait till the 6th round to do it.
I couldn't, and I would be doing everyone listening or watching a disservice by being like, it's super fun, go for it. No, I don't recommend this. I don't recommend the 0 RB strategy unless you're gonna wait until like round 4. That is the closest I can get.
Yeah, no, and I totally said that backwards. I was talking about zero wide receiver strategy. So that would be if you were in the first half. Sorry.
And zero wide receiver, I'm all down with. I am definitely.
You'll wait till the 6th.
I could. Yes, there are names going in. Well, actually, we did get a chance to talk about this. Let me bring some of those names up here really quick.
Yeah.
So,
she'd be willing to do it if you're drafting in the first 5-6 spots, probably.
Yeah, I would say, and even for zero wide receiver, it's going to be those first 5 or late. It actually works no matter where you are in the draft, but it works better in the beginning. So zero wide receiver is a different beast than zero running back.
Okay.
So here is, I think, drafting from like the 6th position. Alvin Kamara, Travis Kelce, Mark Ingram, David Johnson, Dak Prescott. So those are no wide receivers that I've gotten, but I've got an elite tight end. I've got 2 great running backs. I've got Dak Prescott, who is a top 10 quarterback. Now I'm good. Now I'm going to be going after my wide receivers. So round 6, Brandon Cooks, Juju Smith-Schuster, and Devontae Parker. Not huge sold on Devontae Parker, but those are 2 names right there that are available in the 6th. Generally, that's never a guarantee, people.
Sure.
So then right after that, round 7 or even round 6, Cortland Sutton, again, Devontae Parker still falls, Michael Gallup. So these are names that I like. Right after that, you've got Sterling Shepard. Round 10, you can get Emmanuel Sanders. So these are guys that you can really start stocking up with, and then you can start really going after your sleepers. So sleeper tight end, or if you want to wait to do your late round quarterback, then you can target a quarterback, and instead of getting Dak Prescott, go for another big name running back. I mean, the zero wide receiver actually does make a lot more sense to me. And I could see myself waiting on that, but I probably won't. Again, it takes a lot of nerves. And you
did get a wide receiver in Travis Kelce.
Correct. That's true.
Especially in a PPR league.
So that is the point of using one of these strategies, is you are loading up on the elite talent at the other positions. So I like it. And especially if you want to target pass catching running backs, you can still use this for PPR as well.
Okay, there you go. So there's some nice names to use, a little fun strategy. And I think for a lot of people, if they do these strategies, I still think they mix this last strategy in a little. I think this is not a new strategy. I think everybody's kind of digging on this strategy. We have in our little friends and family league, the first year, quarterbacks flew off the board in the first 5, 6, 7 rounds. We had a lot of rooks in there.
Well, they have to in our league, so I don't hate it. But
we didn't have the points to back it up, though.
We're not gonna throw that in there.
So, the second year, we waited. People waited forever to get them, and then last year it kind of went to something in the middle. So it's always interesting. Like a league can change like that year to year. But let's talk about the late round strategy. What's it look like? Why would you do it? Is this strategy that you advise for this year? And do you have any draft targets that make this strategy better?
So I feel like people are kind of divided on this subject because so many people always want to get the Pat Mahomes, the Lamar Jackson.
Sure.
They want to get those first, second, third rounds. I mean, I get it because they're such elite talents that it makes it so hard to pass up. Totally understand. And in my league, like I said, I would not hesitate to take one of those guys. In a super flex league, I would not hesitate to take one of those guys that early because it's a valuable spot to have. But in other leagues, there's so much talent later in the draft of quarterbacks that can finish and have finished top 10 that you don't have to waste that one spot taking a quarterback. Granted, it's not the flash game like Pat Mahomes, but you can get Drew Brees in the 9th round. Drew Brees. And this year, Matt Ryan should take yet another step. He's waffling, so this is his up year.
It's his up year. Yep. Really year.
And plus, just the way the cards and the pieces are falling around Matt Ryan, he's going to be amazing. He's going in the 11th round. You still have Ben Roethlisberger. You have Matt Stafford. You have these guys. So if you wait on your quarterback, you can literally fill every roster spot with really, really good players. And then on your last 3 picks, just take 3 quarterbacks. Just screw everybody else in your draft. And you're like, oh, I got 3 guys. Got my bye week filler. I've got my streamer. Whatever. I love it. I love doing that. And the people in our league who have won off of quarterbacks they've gotten late who they knew or had the idea that they were going to have a really good year because of the pieces around them, even in our crazy league where we score nuts. But it happened. So, I mean, I won my first year with Tom Brady. He was going in the 14th round. Let's see. Matt Ryan has won leagues. Lamar Jackson won a league too. But
Go figure.
He was a late round last year. He was not. He was a late round, right? But right now he's not. But it's recognizing that talent. So I'm a big believer in waiting, even passing on Kyler Murray, passing on Dak Prescott. My targets are what I mentioned before. Ben Roethlisberger coming off that basically arm fixing surgery. Like he's like the rookie of the year. You remember that movie, Rookie of the Year, where he like broke his arm and now suddenly he's in the major leagues, like just slinging it.
I'm not gonna lie to you. No, I don't remember off the top of my head. Off the top of my head, I don't.
I'm a 90. I was made in the 80s, but I'm also like a 90s movie girl. So Rookie of the Year, freaking awesome. I love it. Let's see. Ryan Tannehill's another one that can be a good streamer, but they're going to be a run-heavy offense, so I don't foresee him being an every-week starter, but he is an awesome streamer. I also love Drew Lock. I mean, he's going super late. There's all of these really big-name quarterbacks that are going late, so you don't have to spend that capital. But if you have your strategy in place to target a guy in the 5th, 6th, 7th, go for it. I just think there's so much value all over for the quarterback that you don't necessarily have to go early. Be like Bruce Lee. Be like water. Be fluid. Be flexible. Change it up. You know, you don't have to like stick with one with blinders. You can change up your strategy. Plus, I just met with everyone else.
Sounds like we're on the ballers.
Well, and of course, I mean, I'm one of their writers, so I am going to say I am kind of biased because we all agree on the same thing. But that is one that makes the most sense to me.
I know. I've listened to them for so long. I have to try not to use their phrases on my show.
I use it all the time, and I don't apologize.
I do it to my boss at work. I work in a bank, and she'll ask me something like, "Oh, when are you going to lunch?" I'm like, "I'm going to lunch in 5 minutes." Next question.
Yeah, next question. Like 55, and everyone's like, "What are you doing?"
Yeah. No.
I was on a podcast with Kate and Michelle, and we had been talking about Bilal Powell. Well, of course, every time that happens, it's like Bilal Powell, right? So we got a comment after that, and it was like, "Oh, you guys are just trying to be like the fantasy footballers, saying Bilal Powell like that." I'm like, "Well, I'm one of their writers, so I'm allowed." And everyone was like, "Oh, damn, Fern." I'm like, oh.
Yeah, see, I'm not, so I'm not allowed. So that's why I'm trying not to do it.
If you're on the podcast with me, it is totally acceptable.
Fair.
Cool. And they will be like, "Please use them," because they love it when people use it. And that's the whole point. That's why they have T-shirts made with this stuff on it. It's so fun.
There you go. And I do use their Ultimate Draft Kit. I do love their Ultimate.
Oh, the UDK. The UDK
is awesome.
Especially since they have the app now. And actually, if anyone has questions about how to use the UDK, there is so much information on there. I have a couple articles up on their website of what basically breaking down what every section means and how to use them. And the other writers, including myself, we like to bring in some parts of the UDK into our articles. So if you read them, you'll be able to see how we use them, not only for our draft, but for our research and learning how to even get the stats and the data on these players. That's what we use to research and write. So it's a very, very valuable tool to have.
Nice. Free plug, not a sponsor.
My Twitter, there's a link to it right on my Twitter. Also a link from my website, stepmomlauren.com.
There you go. I love it. You were talking about quarterbacks you can get in the like the 11th quarterback is about where they were. The 11th running back is like Edwards and Jacobs and Eckler. Those guys, that's 11, 12, 13, just on what I'm looking at here. Right. Those are guys you're taking like the 3rd round. You can't get those guys in the 10th, 11th, 12th round like you can a quarterback. So that's what makes late round quarterback such a valuable strategy. I just wanted to accentuate the point you were making earlier with some draft data behind it. So.
Yeah, and there's some terms that we throw around. I've had a couple people ask me this, people who are new to fantasy football, because we use these terms so ubiquitously, right? We're like, the value at tight end. What does that mean? Well, you said it perfectly fine. You can't get an Austin Eckler in the 11th round. That just does not happen. That's why the 0 RB strategy is so terrifying. There's really not that much talent in the 6th round.
Yeah.
The quarterback position is completely different. And there is, like I said, people I'm targeting: Matt Stafford, Matt Ryan, Drew Brees, Ben Roethlisberger, Jimmy Garoppolo a little bit. And some of those guys, I wouldn't mind stacking up on 3 of them and stream them. I mean, I have no problem with that whatsoever. So also late round tight end value too is another one I love. There's some interesting depth at tight end this year. It's not a complete dumpster fire this year. Still stinky, but not horrific like it has been the last couple of years.
Awesome. So I hope you guys are enjoying the show, because I'm enjoying the show. Don't forget to subscribe, rate, review, hit the notification bell, all those wonderful things. We're not done yet. We're going to go to our last section. But before we go to our last section, I want you to remind our listeners and our viewers where they can find you one more time, if you will.
So you guys can find me on social media. I'll be like, full disclosure, I am so bad at Instagram. I'm bad. I use words. I'm not good with pictures. They're usually like my dogs or my cat. I'm working on it. Okay. I'm really working on it, but you can still follow me on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, Stepmom Lauren, Lauren. All of my work for the fantasy footballers and for fantasy pros are on their websites, but they're all condensed and in a very easily navigable place on my website, stepmomlauren.com. And come say hi. I like talking with everybody. It's one of the things I love so much about being in this industry is everyone has been so amazing. So feel free to say hi. Don't be afraid. Ask me questions. I got you.
Awesome. All right. So let's get into this little last section, the draft day and trading psychology. So it's the mental side of things. And maybe this is a guy versus girl mentality. I don't know. We'll figure out what this really is here. But how do you feel?
Hold on, get my hair ready. Hold on.
Oh, boy.
I'm like Samson right now.
Going Mad Woman here? What are we doing? She's shaking out her hair, people.
I'm in like 3,000% humidity in Florida. So as soon as I do my hair, it's like, ha. So I have to like tease it up. And then I look like Medusa. So
I'm in a garage with air conditioning, so I'm good.
I'm in a house with air conditioning. I'm still sweating my ass off. Welcome to Florida. Awful.
All right. So here's what we're going to cover in this section. How does the mental side of things play into the way people draft and the way people trade? Why are people afraid to go against the norm? Do you let yourself or others get into your head? I'm talking about you. Not the listeners. I'm talking about you. Okay. And then do you try and get into other people's head? I don't even think I need to ask that question. And then any closing tips? So let's get into it. So how do you feel that the whole mental side gets in the way people draft and trade?
So normally, this is not going to be about me. Normally, there is a strategy. So Smitty on Instagram, the Fantasy Football Show, he's actually the one who's a psychology major. So he has a whole thing. I need to watch it still about like the psychology behind like trades and stuff. But I think the biggest thing is the fear of the shame, right?
Uh-huh.
You're there making a pick, and you've done all this research and. Like if you mock draft, people are like, oh, I can't believe you took that guy in this round. Then you start to like, oh my God, freak out. And then you have this one guy that you really, really want. You've been waiting. It's right there. Then the guy right in front of you takes it, like sniped. And then you draft tilt and you start sweating and you're like, I don't know what to do. And then you accidentally draft Tavon Austin in the 4th round. And you're like, what'd I just do? I hate my life. It's real. These things are real. But I think the biggest part is that shame, right? That someone is going to make fun of you for this pick for whatever reason. And they're going to call you names. They're going to make you feel bad. Ignore them. Ignore them. I am a full proponent on getting your guys. I mean, unless you're drafting somebody that's going in the 14th round and you're drafting them in the 2nd.
Sure.
I would rethink that strategy.
But a round or two.
Yes. Don't let anybody get into your head because chances are they wanted them and you just took them from him. So that's usually what happens. Yes. Now, for me personally, on draft day, I enjoy partaking of adult beverages. Now, I feel like I have been training my whole life for draft day because I can come back. I can drink a lot, and it does not affect me the same as it affects everybody else who does not drink as much as I do. So I take firm advantage of this, and I buy shots for people. I do not take them. I don't. I conveniently have an empty cocktail that has some, just the end of my cocktail in it and a lot of ice, and then I'll just do that and then take a drink of that and spit the shot right back out in the cup. I don't take the shots. I buy them for people. Get drunk. That is what I like to do. Another thing that I do.
I'm going to Florida to draft because I want free drinks.
No, seriously, I do. I have no problem with it. Another thing I do is I never let anyone get into my head. I don't care. Mostly because I am a fantasy writer and they kind of see me a little bit differently. And I'm not saying that to toot my own horn or anything. Yeah. They're actually scared to make fun of me now because they're like, wait, what does she know that we don't know? So I actually freak people out if I take someone out of turn. They're like, oh my God, who is this person? Like sometimes I'll draft someone at the end that like they've never heard of just to be like inside knowledge, just like a little bit. It's great. And they don't know what to do. So that's really fun. But I never let anyone get into my head whatsoever, because I'm in an uphill battle, being usually the only chick in a draft anyway, that I walk in there like battle ready, like a gladiator, just like swole and ready, and just like come at me. I have all of these shirts. Like one of them is I draft like a girl, need any tips, just funny stuff, or I just don't care. And someone comes at me for something, I just spew all these stats out. They're dead wrong. I just made them up off the top of my head. They don't know the difference. They have no idea. And they're like, wow. And I'm like, yeah, what?
So you do try and get in other people's head, is what you just said, and you don't let them get in your head.
So if I don't like you, or if you annoy me, that is what I do. And if I do like you, I will do everything humanly possible to stand up for you and also to tell you great pick. I do like to do that too, because you're a team, you're a league. You're supposed to have fun while you're doing this. So part of that fun is making fun of each other, but another part of that is also helping stand up for someone who's just getting ripped on for a guy they took maybe one round early. Okay, whatever. So I like doing that too. But
you also have to listen very carefully for great pick or great pick.
Yeah. And again, when someone
inflections,
there's usually just like the Top Gun bird that comes up. If anyone tries to make fun of me, I just don't care. I'm like, no. But if someone else is getting beat up on, I'll step in there. I can't stand that. But if you annoy me, I will get into your head in every way, shape, or form, and then you'll question. You don't even know what your first name is by the time you're done. You're like, where am I? What's happening?
Jeez.
Oh my God, who did I draft? It's fun. It's fun. Now, when it comes to trades, I'm completely opposite. Okay. I despise stupid trades. When someone sends me a dumb trade where it's like, do you honestly think this is the dumbest thing I've ever heard of? It devalues trades, and it makes me angry, because there are instances where trades need to happen. Like legitimate trades need to happen, but someone is burned by stupid trades so many times, or they just get made fun of for that trade so many times that they don't want to trade anymore. So like I have a legitimate good trade that helps both of us out. That's how I always think you should approach trades. Don't try to do it to be cute. Don't try to do it to get one up on somebody else. If you're going to trade honestly, and have that trade be something that benefits the both of you. Otherwise, it turns into a joke, and then nobody really trades anymore, and it's dumb. And it's like, okay, well, this is stupid. Why are we even doing this? So I really approach trades like with this religious, like sanctimonious look to it. Like I make sure those are held in the highest regard. Don't mess with trade, but draft day is off the table. No, I will mess with your life on draft day.
Nice. Here's a little fun line for you. You look down, like towards their feet. You say, "Did you drop your sticker?" And they look down. They go, "No, why?" I'm like, "Oh no, because that really seemed like a reach."
Oh, that's like a really bad pickup line.
Dad joke, pickup line,
It's a pretty solid dad joke. But I don't mind reaching for players. So for me, I'm just like, go for it. Go for it. Like I don't. That's how I've done so well in all of the leagues that I have basically thrown ADP out the window. I use it as a general guideline, but I don't try to stick to it, because I know the people that I'm drafting with. Always know your scoring. Always know the people you draft with. You're going to get your life messed up because they know how you draft. Have a plan. Like, there's that one guy that's a huge Packers fan. Take Aaron Rodgers. Don't start him. Just take him, just to piss him off. And then you'll see the next 2 draft picks he have are awful. I like doing that too.
All right. All right. Any it was packed. That was a packed little micro bursts of.
I'm like a horrible person. People listening are like, this woman is crazy. I am. It's true. Don't let anyone fool you. I'm nuts. Thank God I have my husband who married me and loves me anyway.
Any closing tips to add to those wonderful plethora of tips you just threw at us in hyper speed there?
I know I talk so fast. Sorry.
I love it. It's great.
I can't. My brain moves way too fast. Biggest
It's how you pack an hour and a half of show into 45 minutes.
I know. Just if you listen to it in slow motion, I sound normal. That's
and probably possessed, but
I'm like that one person that reads that copyright really fast. I'm not, but I probably could. My biggest tip: have fun. Always, always, always have fun. If you are finding that you are not having fun playing fantasy football anymore, scale down your leagues. Maybe give one of your leagues to a friend. But the whole point of fantasy football is to have a good time. Have fun trash talking. Don't take it over the top. And remember, the whole reason why you started playing fantasy football is the love of competition, but it's also because you're in leagues with your friends. So this is supposed to be a good time, especially right now during all this, social turmoil we have during this crazy coronavirus. Let's use this time appropriately. And even if it's through a Zoom meeting, who cares? Have fun with fantasy football. That is the whole point of this. And also follow me. That is the biggest tip I can put out there.
There we go. And I just put that up for you for those watching YouTube. Definitely follow her at Stepmom Lauren on Twitter and a million other places, and her website. Do not Google her.
No. I mean, it should be okay, but just don't do it on a work computer or in front of your family.
Not that it has anything to do with her, and now everybody's running to
it's not me.
That's what I said. Not that it has anything to do with her, but now everybody's running to their laptop like, wait, flip screen, what? Huh?
I'm telling you, I literally think half of my Twitter followers are confused 15-year-old boys.
Is there any other kind of 15-year-old boy?
No.
All right. Well, this has been a blast. We're gonna end the show here. I can be found on Twitter at Bob's Three Toad, on YouTube, Bob's Three Toad Warriors. I do have a Instagram, as you mentioned. The only thing on that Instagram is my logo. I have never used it. I can't even figure out how to post. What the hell?
Oh, I have a YouTube page too. I have a YouTube page too. During the season, I put every Thursday I go live for your Thursday starts and sits. And on Friday, I do Fireside Friday live on Instagram. And then I put that onto YouTube. So all of those are on my website if you want to link to it as well. So I need to follow your stuff, Bob. And when you put out your first Instagram post, let me know. I need help. We can help each other in this Instagram.
Okay.
I'm like, I don't do pictures.
I know.
Something. And oh my God. Oh, I've had such good help with, people who are really good at Instagram, like Fantasy Football Lord. I love him. He's like, pro tip, if you put your website in your bio, you don't have to do a link because the link actually isn't a link. And I'm like, I don't know how to use this. I do not know how to use Instagram. So bad.
Good tip. I'm gonna have to find a youngster to help me out with this.
I know.
This
so
Insta game.
Crap. I mean, I just got into Twitter 3 years ago. Give me a minute.
I agree. All right, new shows come out on Monday and Thursday mornings on YouTube, everywhere podcasts can be found. The happy hour is currently on Wednesdays. That is probably being flipped into Tuesdays with the season starting. We shall see, but that's the plan. And the replay of that will be on Saturday mornings. I don't know why I looked at the microphone like it's a camera. That's all for this show. It's been Bob's Three Toad Warriors with Stepmom Lauren. Reminding you, soon enough, you'll be able to hit the waiver wire, set your lineups, and dominate your opponents. But until then, see ya.